Happy Saturday, Risers. We hope you're having a phenomenal weekend. Sagar and I are back with some of our favorite moments from the week.
That's right. The RNC featured Trump family members' efforts to highlight the future of the GOP, working-class Americans in an effort to show the diversity of the Republican Party. This week, senior politics GOP focus reporter at Vox, Jane Coaston, she gave her reasoning for the RNC's lineup choice. Let's take a listen.
So I think that the idea of attempting to come together to develop, say, an economic agenda, which would mean that you'd essentially have to get someone like Senator Josh Hawley and someone like Senator Rand Paul on the same page about an economic agenda. Senator Paul, who said that essentially a recession should be painful, right, and someone like Senator Josh Hawley, who has been focused largely on dismantling Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, but we'll put that aside, but also on ideas and an economic platform that should, in his view, benefit working class Missourians. And so it's way easier to just say, this is a campaign that is aimed on selling you on why Democrats are bad, rather than coming up with a forward-moving economic agenda. If that would force us to put populists and libertarians in the same room and ask them to come up with an agenda that would work for both of them.
Those comments from Jane ended up being incredibly prescient.
She was spot on.
One of the things that we saw play out over the course of the RNC is like Rand Paul would say one thing and Tom Cotton would say the polar opposite thing. You'd have working class people, but then they'd be shilling for tax cuts and deregulation. Yep. So it makes me wonder, there's a lot that is said and written, rightfully so, about the divides in the Democratic Party. The divides in the Republican Party are almost bigger because at least in the Democratic Party, it's like, we're all going to talk about health care, right? But there are big differences between what the vision is, how you get there, but at least you're like on the same page with that. With Tom Cotton and Rand Paul on foreign policy, there is no overlap there. And they're both trying to say, like, this is the future of the party. So it seems like there's even more of a schism there that was attempted to roughly be papered over at the RNC.
I completely agree. I mean, my goal is to make Rand Paul a man without a home. I'd be like, go, be gone. You can
on
caucus,
economics, but on foreign policy.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he can caucus with whomever he wants. But, like, you know, at the end of the day, like, you have no power here. It's my, kind of what I want. But that's very difficult to do. They got a lot of money behind them, an immense amount of money, in order to prop up their ideology and so much if they want. And look, these people are smart. They're slippery. I saw this with Mitch McConnell yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. He's like, middle-class Americans. Well, so it's like, all right, man.
Come on, like, we know. Okay. We know who you're really working for there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, police arrested 17-year-old Illinois resident Kyle Rittenhouse in connection with shootings during the protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin earlier this week. So before the shooting started, Daily Caller reporter Richie McGinniss actually interviewed Rittenhouse, the accused shooter, on the scene of the protest minutes before the shooting occurred. In an exclusive interview with us, he recalled that interaction.
He did say that there was a lack of law and order in the area, and that in the absence of police, that he was providing that. He also mentioned that he was a certified EMT and that his primary goal there was to provide medical aid to protesters. So it was very clear that he had an idea in his head that he was there to help, both for protection of the business and of just the people in general there, but also to render medical aid to any of the protesters who were injured. But the real thing that I picked up on after that interview, I thought to myself, this kid he's very innocent. I don't think this kid realizes exactly where he is. And once I saw him being yelled at after I'd interviewed those other individuals, just prior to him basically running and the whole thing happening, my final thought was, oh my God, like, this kid does not realize that all these people are looking at him and screaming at him. And these people are ready to go and grab him. And it was at that very moment that the man who was shot kind of ran towards him, and everything unfolded from there.
All right, let me say two things. First of all, Richie was there. He took his shirt off to apply a tourniquet, try to save the life of one of the individuals who ended up dead with a bullet wound to his head.
Horrible.
This seems to me an incredibly generous interpretation of Kyle Rittenhouse, though. I mean, you show up at a hot situation like this with a big gun, and you don't know what's going on. You're innocent. You're naive. I mean, come on.
I don't know. He's 17. Look, I'm not defending him. He's literally an alleged murderer. But, like, 17-year-old, shouldn't even have a gun in the first place, crossed state lines. He seems delusional in that clip, the clip that we played during that interview, where he's like, I'm a certified, first, you can't be a certified EMT when you're like 17. But
right.
There's just a lot of lies that were going to that head. I read a report that he was actually rejected from the U.S. military for unknown reasons,
like
which usually means like
obsessed with law enforcement based on the social media profile. So, again, very generous interpretation of what is going on there with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
But it's really valuable to have Richie here, who was like not just there, but directly involved.
Minutes away.
Interviewed him minutes before.
And as you heard, he actually got hit by some concrete, which was kicked up from a bullet. I mean, that's how close he was to the shooting here.
Truly was. Really. All right. In addition, author, philosopher, and professor of the practice of public philosophy at Harvard University and professor emeritus at Princeton University, Dr. Cornel West, joined me on the show earlier this week. He talked about how progressives can evolve the Democratic Party versus the idea of moving towards a third party. Let's take a listen.
I think, Sister Krista, you have raised the $64,000 question. Because on the one hand, I think the corporate establishment in the Democratic Party, they've proven that they will do and say anything to push back the Bernie Sanders campaign or push back any seriously substantive progressive campaign. They only want some tokenistic representation. They're tied to their big donors, they're tied to Wall Street, and they're tied to the military budget. Many, if not most of them, voted for the military budget of Donald Trump, the 20% increase in military spending in just 2.5 years. So that it's very clear they're not going to allow a people's movement and a people's sensibility to emerge in the Democratic Party in any dominant way. And in that sense, they're like any other ruling class, any other power elite. And on the other hand, it's just so difficult to create a third party. And so, the answer to your question is going to have to be in our actions.
So this is my question, because he was also speaking at that People's House party. Do you think it's going to be successful? I'm very against third-party initiatives.
So I wouldn't say I'm very against third-party initiatives. I would say that, in my view, what is more likely to succeed is what Bernie Sanders attempted. Yes. And we see that in the historical evidence. I mean, he came close. He came close. And it's very frustrating, the obstacles that were put up in his way and the way the media treated him unfairly, the party treated him unfairly, all those things being said, he was within a hair's breadth of actually pulling it off this time around. Third-party efforts are very difficult. I mean, we have the Green Party, we have DSA also, and you have to start from vote number one. There are ballot access issues. So what I have seen in recent history, at least, be more successful and more likely to succeed is taking over the apparatus of one of the major political parties. But I think, Dr. West is speaking there. Nina Turner is speaking there. Marianne Williamson is speaking there. A lot of folks that, that our audience knows and respects will be speaking there. And I appreciated Dr. West's honesty there of basically like, we don't know exactly what the path forward is. So we kind of have to try all these things and see what gets some traction and then move forward from there. So I'm looking forward to, what he has to say at the convention. It was always a pleasure to talk to him, one of my favorites.
It's going to be interesting.
That does it for us. We'll be back later today with the week that was in media screw-ups.
Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos. Don't forget to like and share as well. And tomorrow, we'll be back for another round of #RisingQs. See you guys then.
Have a great day, guys.